Hi guys, it's Nicole, and in this video I will be working on the first Super Saver layout from the January 2015 Super Sketch Club kit from Scrapbook Generation. So I will be cutting down all of my papers in this video. On my channel there is a video showing the contents, all the papers in detail, so if you're wanting specifics on the papers that came in the kit, be sure to check out that video. A few seconds ago I was just showing little sort of cheat sheets that I make up when I am uploading my photos and editing them and stuff, so that weeks or months later when I have a chance to sit down with the kit, I kind of can remember what my game plan was. And I've even gotten it down to the point where as I'm saving my photos, I will sort of name them with an event or a certain number, and then on my little handwritten sort of shorthand version of the sketch, I will number the spots that they go, so when I get my photos back I can just flip to the back of the photo, and it's nice that they come printed with your file name printed on them, so I can just flip them over to the back and know, okay, I'm looking for in this case it was Nelson, Nevada, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I kind of knew exactly where those were gonna go. So I did bump up the speed on this portion of the video just because it's a lot of cutting these little tiny strips and just checking the instructions and back and forth, and it's basically just cutting up the paper. And again, the Super Savers portion of the kit is the one where you are using every little bit of paper, including the barcode strips. Sometimes, a lot of times they will have us cut little banner pieces, or maybe get your journaling strips or something from that little extra bit of pattern paper that a lot of manufacturers will include on the branding strip. I don't think this Jelly Bean Soup paper had us doing that though. And this was one of those times where as soon as I saw them post the sample pictures for the kit, I instantly knew, okay, these are going to work well for our family pictures last fall. We were all sort of wearing clothing that would work with the papers, and to be honest, I am a scrapbooker who I don't want to say I don't care if things match, but I don't necessarily pay that much attention. Like, I know that there's some people out there who do such an amazing job of sort of matching colors in the photos to colors on their papers and rhyme or reason to what they're picking. I tend to just look at the sample layout that they show, and I'll either immediately think of pictures that I have, or I will sit down at my computer and kind of go through my hard drive, and just anything that sort of stands out and that I think will work, I will just go with it. If it's something like, okay, say my kids are dressed up in orange Halloween t-shirts, I would not put that on this particular layout. But I tend to just kind of not really overthink it. Family photos, however, I will kind of maybe spend a little bit more time as far as thinking about papers that I want to use, or if there's a specific kit that will work well. And I really like using the kits or the sketches from Scrapbook Generation for my family pictures, the professional ones, mostly because I really want to be able to use the whole 4x6 size when possible, and they do a really good job of coming out with sketches and kits that use full-size photos. And I am going to apologize that I didn't realize it at the time that I did not push my phone far enough out of frame, so if that's distracting, I apologize. A lot of times when I am scrapbooking, I will pull up YouTube on my phone and I'll catch up on other scrapbooking videos, or in this case I was chugging through, I want to say that's Amazing Race China or Australia. I don't know. I can't get enough of the American ones, so I'll watch any of them. And thankfully YouTube is filled with all these other shows that you would never see in the US. So all I did was ink the edges of those paper strips, lay down my paper strips, lay down the photos, and then I'm using the right page that's already been assembled to line up the strips that go on the left page. And I did trim off a little tiny slice of the entire layout just because the papers either didn't go all the way to the edge or they were just a sloppy mess. So I just slice it and it doesn't bother me. So just following the sketch and the directions, which are over on the side, and putting down my photos. And I was having a heck of a time with my ATG. I notice when I'm getting towards the end of the roll is when I start to have more issues with it. And I am using those stripe strips to cover the edges of my photos. I like the way it looks, and I like the way that it covers up if my photos weren't lined up right. And I'm not sure on the top of my head. I want to say this layout did have 2 3x4 photos on the left page. A lot of times I will add photos, and if I do add photos, I will add them in a similar style to what they have shown on the sketch. But these 2 that I'm adding were shown on the sketch. So there's nothing that I'm adding here. I did think that they were a little big for my taste, only just because the photos that are above the 3x4 photos, we are sort of filling the frame. So by the time I put those 3x4 photos on, I kind of felt like they were covering us up a little bit. So I'm going to end up playing around with those photos until I feel like they're not so overwhelming down there. And I was digging through the die cuts and grabbing the ones that I knew for sure went with this kit. And again, I was just trimming those photos down, not really cutting anything out that mattered, just making them a little bit smaller so that there was a little bit more room and they weren't sort of right up next to my daughter's face in that photo on the right. And then I just grabbed some glue dots and some foam tape to go ahead and put these die cut pieces down. And Jelly Bean Soup is a line that my local store does not get, and it's not one of those lines that I automatically think of to go look at when I'm doing like an online purchase. But I have to tell you that every single time I have seen Jelly Bean Soup papers come in the kits, I have loved them. So I'm trying to remember to sort of be on the lookout when the new lines come out, because I really like their sort of color combinations, and I like that the same colors are used in multiple collections, so you could kind of mix and match the tone-on-tone papers. And then, these are the strips that go on the top of the page, and I was being lazy, so I just grabbed I think it was a hexagon punch to do the notching the banner piece at the ends. Sometimes I think it's faster with scissors, other times I kind of think it's faster with the punch. I'm trying to remember to use the punch so that I get better and maybe a little quicker at it, but it seems to only work on strips that are maybe like 1.5 inches and smaller than that. And I only have the one size hexagon punch, so obviously if I had a bigger punch it would go with the bigger banner pieces, but I don't know, I tend to just grab my scissors and trim them that way, but I am trying to remember to use it. So I'm just lining these up, following the guide and the photos that I had printed out. And then I'm just going to line up the 2 pages so that I can make sure that I get the banners lined up across the gap. And then I'm going to add the title piece with some foam tape. And I like to cover as much of it as I can just so it doesn't get sort of smushed down once I put it inside my album. And then these are the other die cuts that were shown in the sample, and I just cut off that little light blue bloom. I think it was tucked underneath, but by the time I had put my foam tape down, it just wasn't going to fit, so I just snipped it off. And then at this point, I decided that I wanted to add just a little something extra to the flowers, so I grabbed these yellow 4mm sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. I don't know the exact color, but it's the light yellow. And I just did the center of the flowers and that little yellow circle, and that was pretty much it. Very quick to put together and went perfectly with my family photos. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next Super Saver layout.